Good morning, everybody. I'm Robert Scheer, and this is your 6 AM Wake Up. Okay, we're going to continue our discussion of the fifth step, and I thought it might be valuable for me to sort of walk you through my fifth step a little bit. Not the details of it, but how I went about it, and I think it'll bring it a little bit more to life for you. And so I did a very thorough fourth step, and I did it using a fourth step guide that was put out by Hazleton, which is a big recovery center, I think, in the Midwest. There are lots of them. There's lots of approved kind of fourth steps out there. And after I completed my fourth step, which I mentioned was 30 or 40 pages, I certainly spent some time reflecting on that. And then ultimately, I got the courage, literally the courage, to meet with my sponsor and review it. And we reviewed it actually at his apartment. And it probably took us 3 months to go through it. And obviously it wasn't 3 months steady, but it was probably, there were 3 separate sections in the one I did. I think it was broken into childhood, adolescence, and adulthood. And I probably devoted 2 sessions meeting with him to each of those sections, and each session was probably an hour and a half long. So you can add up the math. We spent a lot of time talking about it together. So fifth step, admitted to God and to ourselves and another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. The overall purpose of this fifth step, you're trying to move yourself from your sort of private thoughts and shame and secrecy into honesty, accountability, and freedom, and also humility. Humility defined not as what you're embarrassed about, but humility is defined as to how you accurately see yourself, how you accurately fit into the world. Many people have really a misperception of themselves. They think they're worse than they are. They think they're better than they are. But all of us seem to carry years of guilt, regret, anger, fear, resentment, those kinds of things. And the fifth step is really designed to bring those out into the open so they really no longer have much power. The first part of the step, admitting to God and yourself, is where you become fully honest within. If you think about it, before you can change, you have to be honest. You have to get a clear understanding of yourself. And we are all skilled at rationalizing. The second part, and this is the hard part, we then admitted to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Many people are terrified of the things they've done, the things they've thought, the things they've felt. I'm going to come back to thoughts and feelings. They really think that if you knew about me what I know about me, you wouldn't like me. You would reject me. You would judge me. And this is why this fifth step is so powerful when you do it with another person. And you can do this with your spouse. That can be very challenging for some, but often that's the best person. You can do it with siblings. You can do it with best friends. As we've said repeatedly, all the listeners here are not necessarily going to have quote unquote sponsors, but you may have some type of mentor or some type of clergy. And what happens through this process is you really very simply get an understanding that you're not that unique. You share your worst thoughts, secrets, and feelings, and you find out that the person you shared them with, they feel the same way. They know other people that have done those kinds of things. And all of a sudden you don't feel alone, and you feel more accepted. This is the real strength and power of that fifth step. It's not about confessing mistakes. It's about becoming honest enough that you're no longer hiding, courageous enough to tell the truth. And then you start to become compassionate enough to accept yourself. So that's really the power behind it. But I do want to take a minute before we close and talk a little bit about the difference between behaviors and feelings and thoughts. A lot of people, particularly when you're doing a lot of self-examination like this, you start to get a little confused by things you did wrong versus thoughts you had that you reject. They were either immoral or violent or unethical, and those create shame. And there's a big distinction between doing something wrong and thinking something wrong or feeling something wrong. Feelings are real, but they're not facts, and that's an important distinction. They are worth examining, but you can't condemn yourself over feelings and thoughts that really occur randomly. And then I'm going to give you sort of the Cliff Notes version right here as we close about the fifth step. And it has served me for the last 22 years. And it's a simple adage, and it goes like this. Pain shared is halved. Pain shared is halved, and joy shared is multiplied. If you can learn to tell people about the things that are bothering you, you're going to find that you get immediate relief. And that was the big lesson I took away from the fifth step. Thanks for listening to my thoughts for the day.